President of the United States of America and the President of the Russian Federation.
Well, guys, I was waiting for this to start, so we got it here. The press conference.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, our negotiations have been held in a constructive atmosphere of mutual respect. We have very thorough negotiations that were quite useful. I would like to thank once again my American counterpart for the proposal to travel out here to Alaska. It only makes sense that we've met here, because our countries, though separated by the oceans, are close neighbors. So when we've met, when I came out of the plane and I've said, "Good afternoon, dear neighbor. Very good to see you. In good health and to see you alive." I think that is very neighborly. And I think that's some kind words that we can say to each other. We're separated by the Strait of Bering.
Who's talking?
There
A
are
translator.
2 islands only between the Russian island and the U.S. island. They're only 4 kilometers apart. We're close neighbors, and it's a fact. It's also important that Alaska has to do with our common heritage, common history between Russia and the U.S., and many positive events have to do with that territory. Still, there is tremendous cultural heritage back from the Russian America. For example, Orthodox churches and a lot of, more than 700 geographical names of Russian origin. During the Second World War, it was here in Alaska that was the origin of the legendary air bridge for the supply of military aircraft and other equipment under the Lend-Lease program. There was a dangerous and treacherous route over the vast emptiness of ice. However, the pilots of both countries did everything to bring closer the victory. They risked their lives and they gave it all for the common victory. I was just in the city of Magadan in Russia, and there is a memorial there dedicated to the Russian and the U.S. pilots. And there are 2 flags, the U.S. flag and the Russian flag. And I know that here as well there is such a memorial. There is a military burial place several kilometers away from here. The Soviet pilots that buried there who died during that dangerous mission. We're thankful to the citizens and the government of the U.S. for carefully taking care of their memory. I think that's very worthy and noble. We'll always remember other historical examples when our countries defeated common enemies together in the spirit of battle camaraderie and allyship that supported each other and facilitated each other. I'm sure that this heritage will help us rebuild and foster mutually beneficial and equal ties at this new stage, even during the hardest conditions. It is known that there have been no summits between Russia and the U.S. for 4 years, and that's a long time. This time was very hard for bilateral relations, and let's be frank, they have fallen to the lowest point since the Cold War. I think that's not benefiting our countries and the world as a whole. It is apparent that sooner or later we had to amend the situation to move.
Let me try and go to a different one. That's very quiet.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Issues. What's the situation around Ukraine? We see the strive of the administration and President Trump personally to help facilitate the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict. And his strive to get to the crux of the matter, to understand this history, is precious. As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover,
what is with the volume of these? This is ridiculous.
A brotherly nation, however strange it may sound in these conditions, we have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us, a terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots the primary causes of that conflict, and we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump,
All right, get to Trump
said
speaking.
today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well. Naturally, we are prepared to work on that. I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kiev and European capitals will perceive that constructively and that they won't throw a wrench in the works. They will not make any attempts to use some backroom dealings to conduct provocations to torpedo the nascent progress. Incidentally, when the new administration came to power, bilateral trade started to grow. It's still very symbolic. Still, we have a
Очевидно, что российско-американское деловое и инвестиционное партнерство имеет огромный потенциал. России и США есть что предложить друг другу в торговле, энергетике, цифровой сфере, высоких технологиях и освоении космоса. Актуальным видится и взаимодействие в Арктике, возобновление межрегиональных контактов, в том числе между нашим Дальним Востоком и американским западным побережьем. В общем, нашим странам важно и нужно перелистнуть страницу и вернуться к сотрудничеству. Символично, что неподалеку на границе России и США, как я уже говорил, проходит так называемая линия перемены дат, где можно вчера в завтра. И надеюсь, что у нас так и получится в политической сфере. Я хотел бы поблагодарить господина Трампа за совместную работу, за доброжелательный и доверительный тон беседы. Главное, что с обеих сторон был настрой на результат. Мы видим, что президент США имеет четкое представление о том, чего хочет добиться, искренне заботится о процветании своей страны и в то же время проявляет понимание наличия в России своих национальных интересов. Рассчитывает, что сегодняшние договоренности станут опорной точкой.
Let me try and find the Forbes one. But I think he's about to be done talking.
Представление о том, чего хочет добиться, искренне заботится о процветании своей страны и в то же время
Reuters, they don't have a translator.
The situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities. And I said it quite directly back then that it's a big mistake. Today, when President Trump saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that. I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good, business-like and trustworthy contact. And I have every reason to believe that moving down this path, we can come, and the sooner the better, to the end of the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you.
This woman is struggling.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound, and I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Radcliffe, thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here, and I think, you know, everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time, and we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax that made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all, but we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax, but what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, whose faces, who I know in many cases, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss, but especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good, productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
What about the details?
That's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Taking questions.
Well, there we are. Short and sweet. No, well, perhaps not so sweet if you're Ukrainian, because the one word that I certainly didn't hear in that news conference.
Where was so they agreed on stuff. I thought they were going to either take questions about it or they would talk about what they had come to an agreement on. I think they're struggling with the demilitarization of Ukraine. That's what I would guess, but I don't know. A lot of what's coming out of this meeting will likely come through Twitter, through X, through people online, and so we'll probably get a lot of the information on X. That's what I would assume, but I'm surprised that was very short. They said that they had nice talks, but you know, it's we have to see the details. We see the details, it'll be better. People are calling it a nothing burger. Well, I mean, I don't know what people... I mean, I certainly expected them to talk about what they had agreed upon, or at least go into detail on the talks a little bit more. I'm not sure what that was exactly, but I don't know, man. There's a lot of reports. There's a lot of people protesting this. Check Polymarket odds for ceasefire. I can't even load Polymarket right now. I don't know why. I think I have to clear my history or something. Short ass press conference, not a good sign. Well, I mean, it's hard to really tell. Apparently, this is what I'll say about this. You know, I was told it was going to be later because with Alaska they're 4 hours behind, and it was they were having this meeting and it was going to go 6 or 7 hours. But the reason I had to go live early was because, shockingly, they said it was only a 3-hour meeting. They had a 3-hour meeting roughly. They said it could go 6 or 7 hours. It was 3 hours, and then whatever that was. It's really not a press. I mean, there was no press involved. It was like it was a dual statement. No Russian bear riding a go-kart. Bit disappointing. At least they're talking, though. I know, dude. The thing is they've had phone calls before as well. I want to get to that one donation, talking the Michigan stuff. I'll get to that in a little bit. Because it just shows you how the NCAA has basically no jurisdiction at this point. It's bad for college football. It really is. Yeah, that's right. There were protests. I mean, I don't know why. They're trying to come to a peace agreement. I guess they're mad. Something about Ukraine. I mean, but it's like, what do you want? What do you want Trump to do? He has to talk to both sides. Do you not want him to talk to Putin? Trump has been hard on Putin the past few months. He's been nice to NATO, yet they still protest. I don't understand it. Well, this is the support.
I'm assuming they just want
Is it 2022 again? Remember that? How long was the meeting? 3 hours. Meeting in person is better than not meeting. Well, it's better than a phone conversation as well. I mean, there's a lot more detailed talks, and there's a lot. There's the top people involved. I mean, Vance is there apparently. Rubio. Biden wasn't even having communication with Russia. Very dangerous. We came close to World War III last November. Whoa, you mean it when the escalation happened? I don't know about that, but I do agree it's extremely dangerous the way they handled it, for sure. I mean, there's an invasion, but then there's being real about it and understanding that you have to communicate with these adversaries, or else when you don't talk, that's when really bad things happen. So, you know, I appreciate the way in which Trump handles it, at least with dialogue. It's all old ladies. It's irrelevant old people. It's like the King's protest. It's all, they get them out of the nursing home. That's who was protesting against Trump. Even the liberals were like, well, why is it only old people? Am I excited for the Nothing Burger? Well, I mean, a lot of this, whatever happens, it's going to be it's going to be broken behind the scenes. It's going to be broken through Trump talking on the tarmac. Honestly, that's when Trump gives out the best details. I mean, if they were to take questions, that's when we were going to get the good details. They didn't take questions, so. They don't know how diplomacy works. Yeah, no, they think we should just like nuclear bomb, drop a nuke on Moscow. That's probably what like. They have no clue. Well, I mean, we don't know if it's a wasted meeting or not. I mean, I think it depends. There's a lot of factors at play with this, for sure. A lot of factors. Trump says he'll call Zelensky. Somebody talking in Russian. The outcome could have been worse. Well, we don't. I mean, yeah, he could have sent Putin home before the meeting, before the press conference happened. So I guess that would have been worse. We all knew the meeting was not going to end the war. Well, it's you need two to tango. So, and there's so many steps that have to happen before the war ends, including ceasefire, and so there's a lot. And obviously, it's not going to be the end, but. I mean, I would like to just know the details of what they agreed upon. I think they agreed upon probably the annexed area, possibly a buffer zone, things like that. But I wonder about the demilitarization of Ukraine. That seems like it could be a sticking point. Russian is the most difficult language. Yeah, I mean, it's up there. It's a very hard language. People saying nothing burger when we have no info yet is so insane. Yeah, but it's predictable. It's based off of the limited press conference they had. They took no questions. So I understand why people are saying it. But it just depends. You're right. The info that comes out, that's what's going to determine whether it was successful or not. I mean, it was only a 3-hour meeting, so take that for what it's worth. You could say it's a good thing. You could say it's a bad thing. But the fact that they had the really more so a statement than a press conference, you would have to figure it's at least semi-positive. And they had already agreed on certain things before they even came to the meeting. They had already, because Trump, the administration had given their 7-point peace plan, and there's things that Russia would have agreed upon within that. So to me, it's just what happens to Ukraine after this. That's the real question. And does it involve a lot of Russian influence? I think that's probably the hang-up. Any progress? We don't know yet. They said there's progress, but there's no details on what was discussed and what was agreed upon. So they'll be coming out with details, I'm sure. And, I thought it was going to be a bit longer than that, honestly. I didn't think. Trump should give Putin a golden retriever, and Putin should give Trump a Siberian Husky for diplomacy. I remember there's a YouTube video of Putin getting a puppy from a country. I've seen that video. Are you feeling better? Yeah, I would say I'm feeling a little bit better today, yeah, than yesterday for sure. You thought this was supposed to be settled day one? Well, it's a hyperbole. It's a hyperbole. You're not going to settle a war like this in one day. The point is there's going to be more dialogue with Russia that'll at least give it a chance to be settled. Thoughts on NFTs? I'm not high. I don't deal in NFTs. I don't deal in the, it's just not, it's not for me, man. I mean, I get the idea of NFTs, but I'm not a big fan of them. What do you think about Hillary supposedly planning to nominate the Nobel Peace Prize to Trump, and Trump's response? Yeah, I thought that was a bit odd. Like, why you're going to give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize? Hillary Clinton would say that. I think, there's some lawfare where they're subpoenaing her, and she's trying to be nice to Trump, and then Trump responds. And, Trump loves when people talk good about him, so gives a response that people were a little bit surprised by. Kind of in jest, almost. He thought maybe Zelensky was just posturing to get a better deal. But if he's really not willing to give up any land, even parts that are already lost, it's going to be tough. Well, the thing is where is his leverage? His leverage comes from NATO. If NATO says you have to do this, I mean, what is he going to do? Hold out until Russia takes over half of the country? I mean, there has to be an ultimatum at some point to Zelensky. The question is there enough pull with the Western European countries? I mean, or the United States could just say, we're done. We're not going to send them any more weapons. It's not going to, because we're going to stay out of it. It's a European issue. If the Western European countries want to continue to fund Ukraine, that's how Zelensky has any type of leverage to say, we're not going to end this war. So if that continues, I mean, but yeah, you're right. I don't see the delusion to where you want the land back. How does that happen? I'm not sure how you get that land back. I mean, that you would have to, hypothetically, maybe you could do it, but we would cripple our own domestic economy doing it, getting Ukraine that land back. So for us, it's just not worth it. We're not going to go through that because it involves cutting off all Russian trade and then threatening other countries. And yeah, there were some clips beforehand. I know that.
1986, Reagan walks away from Reykjavik with Gorbachev, and it was a strong moment. I mean, you could foresee if it goes down a bad path, you get up and walk away.
I'm not doing it based on history, based on anything else. I'm doing it based on a deal. If we make a deal, great. If I see that there's no hope of making a deal, I'm out of there. It's over. I'm out of there. This isn't my war. This is Biden's war. This is Biden screwed this up, just like he did with Afghanistan with that horrible retreat. And the way he did it, I'll never forget it.
1986.
Russians called the meeting very well. They said the meeting went very well.
Positive, something meaningful.
They're walking the runway.
It's going to be said tonight. It's unclear to me if President Trump has been able to mute or lessen the ambitions of President Putin, who, as we all know, seeks to reestablish and reassert the geographic footprint that the USSR, the Soviet Union had.
Putin seemed pissed the entire time. You don't think the meeting was ever meant to solve anything? More of a warning? I think it was kind of hard to tell Putin's demeanor. I'd have to probably rewatch it.
Back in my 20s, even before I got to Congress. So I'm hopeful this evening, largely because of what you said a few minutes ago. You have a young man up there practicing in Russian on one of those microphones. So hopefully this is something this evening that the Ukrainians accept and welcome, and the world embraces in a mighty way. Positive, something meaningful. It's
Why do they need to walk on a red carpet? Yeah, on an Alaskan tarmac. On the Alaskan tarmac. Look at that. Oh. When you have a $1 trillion defense budget, that's what it buys you. He was pissed on journalists who asked him how long will you... Yeah, I saw he ignored that question, somebody was saying. Putin now personally wants Trump to come to Moscow. Well, I mean, we'll see if... is it worth it?
Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
I think it's just, look, you want to have dialogue. I want to see what they agreed upon, what they didn't agree upon. But again, the core of it is these Western European countries and Ukraine and the funding of Ukraine and what happens to Ukraine after. But some people in the comments are right. If Zelensky is saying, I mean, the land's already the land is already under Russian control. So I'm not sure how that works. But he's saying he wants all of the borders restored. So how does that happen? How do the borders get restored without some crazy amount of pressure onto Russia, which inevitably would hurt our domestic economy? So I can't see us doing that. Search up Putin being pissed.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, press. Let's go. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Putin thoughts, we regret selling Alaska to you in 1867. Yeah, the Alaska purchase. Land purchases always age well. Go to Sochi, great skiing. What was it? What would Sochi have been? 2014? 2014 Winter Games. Ukraine doesn't have the manpower to push the Russians back to the 91 borders. No, I agree. That's why I'm saying there would have to be NATO interference through economic pressure onto the Russian economy. That's the only way I think it would happen. Or NATO would have to be directly involved, which is an escalation. So, no, the Ukrainian manpower, they cannot do that. I mean, they know they can't. You know, they've been on the defensive the entire war. Too much bloodshed to go back to the original. It's just, you know, the Russians, whether you agree with it or not, you think it's justified or not, you know, they've invested too much into this war. There's no way it can be justified for Putin. I mean, that's to where Putin would face massive public pressure from Russians if that happens somehow, to where it really can't happen for Putin. They can't go back. They've invested too much. They've invested too much. They have to get something out of it. So, you just don't want the war to continue? Yeah, I mean, it's been moving slowly, but yeah, I mean, it's a lot of deaths, unfortunately, and hopefully it ends up ending. I mean, they're going to have to talk to the European powers in Ukraine, but I mean, you know, what came out of it was, okay, they had a good talk. That's kind of what I said in my preview video earlier. I thought, well, there might be a chance that this is all it is, but I thought they would take questions and elaborate on what they agreed upon. 29% of Ukrainians have Russian as their mother language. Yeah, no, I know it's the Far Eastern regions are mainly Russian speaking. I understand that. But, you know, that comes down to a slippery slope of justification to take over territory. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I know with Nasdaq, I know it's got to support it. There's been I think 3 whales sold out is what it was, man. But it's got you're right, it needs to find support. Hopefully within the area. The translator sucked. Yeah, the translator she was stumbling towards the end. Yeah, I agree, man. I think this war is not necessary. I mean, just tuned in, no sanctions for now, I hope. Yeah, well, Trump said it was a positive conversation, so I don't know where that puts. I don't know where the clock is currently on Trump saying he's going to sanction Russia. I don't know if that's been delayed indefinitely. I don't know if it's in 5 days. So right now, there's no sanctions. I mean, I think Trump used it as a tactic to get Putin to come to Alaska. That's what I would say with the sanctions. Dude, we don't want sanctions on Russia. It's going to be very bad short term or long term for the market. So that's something we can't have. We can't afford that. Unless it's strategically done in a way, but even that. Putin invited Trump to Moscow, saying next time in Moscow. I know, I saw that. That was at the end. Trump said, Now, Trump wouldn't. I don't think Trump would do that. It would make Trump look like a cuck. Putin didn't go to New York City or Washington, D.C., Trump would go to an obscure area in eastern Russia. You know, that's the equivalency. "109 things you didn't need to know." I don't know if I could come up with any more. It might be a while before I do another video like that on that. I was struggling to come up with, you know, the amount for the last video that I had. What do you guys support Russia? What timeline of this? Why are these like? It's just like these are emotional women, dude. We support ending the war, and to end the war, you have to have dialogue with both of the combatants within the war. So there has to be a talk with. I mean, realistically, do you think you're getting that land back within Ukraine? It's extremely unlikely. So it's like being realistic and being an adult is considered like Russian propaganda. It's just amazing. It's just like liberal normie slop. You can't talk about Russia at all. I thought my stream just lagged there. Did it not lag? Yeah. I was wondering if it lagged because I wasn't getting any of the chat. No, it should be back. It should be fine. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I knew it lagged. Dems headline: if there was a deal, the fascists made a deal behind Zelensky's back. Dems today for not having deal. Trump is a failure, made no deal. Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. They're going to swing it any way they can. Well, they would have just swung it as Trump's a cuck to Putin if he made a deal. So it's like, there's really no point in paying attention to it. I mean, I'll see the deal and then I'll tell you if it's a good deal or not. I mean, we don't need fucking MSNBC saying anything Trump does is bad. You know, there's going to be a deal. There's going to be some capitulation of territory by the Ukrainians. There's going to have to be. Thoughts on the conference? I was a little surprised the lack of detail. So, look, there wasn't a ton there. I was also surprised no questions. If we would get a lot of elaboration from them if there was questions. I mean, it's a press conference. Is the press involved? I guess not. It was more of a statement from both of them. So very little. Most of this is we're going to learn what they agreed upon with the reports that come out, or with Trump probably talking on the tarmac, because that's when he makes a lot of the statements. So Trump will probably say some stuff. The occupied areas should vote if they want to join Russia, and elections should be supervised by a third party. Ukraine apparently loves democracy. Yeah, well, they are corrupt as hell in Ukraine. Pretty much everyone admits that. Yeah, maybe that's what ends up happening. Maybe that's your liberal resolution. All right, we'll let the people decide. Right? No, I hear you. I already looked at the protesters. I saw the protesters. It's an old folks home. There's a bunch of old people. I mean, power dynamics in the situation are beyond democracy. Russia owns that land at this point. I whether they own it or not, it's like a technical term. As a war is going on, I mean, it's under government administration. I guess technically they control it, but if it's a war is going on, you know, you have to establish new borders, I feel, for it to be officially your land. Do you think Putin has the upper hand? Well, in a raw battle against Ukraine, Putin has the upper hand over Ukraine. Putin, so they have leverage over Ukraine. So that's going to give them leverage in negotiations to a degree. But I mean, if NATO is still backing Ukraine, they're going to lose a lot of their leverage. But they've got leverage strictly over Ukraine because they're a stronger country. What do you think of Dems grasping for their last breaths by clinging on to California as their last hope for the midterms? Well, you know, they have to have a special election, and we'll see if it votes in their favor, and so they'll be able to gerrymander about 5 seats. The problem for the Democrats, as far as I see it, Texas is gerrymandered by 5 seats. Ohio will be potentially gerrymandered by 2 or 3 seats. Florida will potentially be gerrymandered by 2 or 3 seats. Missouri might be gerrymandered by a seat. So, you know, they can gerrymander California, but the overall net gain for Republicans with the redistricting is going to be pretty significant. I mean, they're trying to cancel out Texas, but there's other areas Republicans can turn to. What did they not agree on? Probably the demilitarization of Ukraine. Maybe also there was another thing that Trump wanted. He wanted them to control a nuclear plant within Ukraine, and the Russians didn't want that. That was part of his first peace proposal. Those old people are probably from the Pacific Northwest or the Midwest. They probably couldn't even survive in Alaska. Yeah, you wonder, you know, what is it's in Anchorage. You wonder how many people in Anchorage would be interested in protesting Trump. Like, it seems weird. You honestly don't think the gerrymander will pass? California voters tend to be more conservative on referendums. Yeah, the only thing is it's such a niche thing. It's a special election. So there's going to be a lot of impassioned far left people in Cali that try and vote it through. The question is, will enough people show up that, you know, don't want the state gerrymandered? That's the question. So it could go through. I know the polls say it's probably not going to pass, but it's a little bit of nuance with a special election. It's like, what is the electorate that turns out? Yeah, the denazification, I think that's just an excuse, honestly. I mean, there might be some, but that's to me, that's an excuse for an invasion. That never made sense. That's the reason. I mean, they obviously think that they should have control or heavy influence over Ukraine because they previously did. They lost the control in 2014, so they want it back, at least partially. You heard more independents say that they want to keep the so-called independent commissions. Yeah, well, how about the independent commission they have in California and how bad the you know districts look? Those independent commissions don't even draw the proper districts. They're very one-sided. That was part of the problem. They tried to pass this initiative, you know, nationwide to ban gerrymandering, but a lot of the commissions are very biased. Trump did kind of Trump. He's got a significant height advantage on Putin. He does. Yeah, I think the Nazi stuff is overblown. I think it's a justification, like it's a bad justification for an invasion. A mayo bath or a honey bath? Yeah, mayo, dude. Mayo you can wash right off. That's a bad scenario, bro. That's an easy answer. Mayo bath. You get honey in your hair? You get honey in that's not a good situation. You get honey on your penis. I mean, it's just Russia wants all of the Donbass and Crimea. They are willing to cede territory, Zaporizhia and Kherson Oblast back to Ukraine to get Donbass and able to keep land on the corridor to Crimea. So what would that entail? So they would be willing to cede certain territory. So they would take like 50% of the Oblast territory, not 100%, you're saying, if they cede territory? Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what ends up happening. Maybe that's what Trump was referencing when he talked about territory going back to Ukraine. What if the Germans took Moscow? They would move the capital. The Soviet Union would move the capital to the east. Juan, what's up, man? Crazy how Putin respects our fallen soldiers better than some of the libs at times. What are you drinking then? I'm just drinking water. Yeah, I'm just drinking water. I've been drinking better. Well, maybe not recently, but tonight I'm just... It's a Rab Zelinsky has to agree. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Oh, look, what time is the joint press conference? I thought there was an actual time, so I asked people, but... Yeah, imagine if it was Kamala Harris. Well, there wouldn't even be a meeting if it was Harris. Ukraine needs to surrender territory, create DMZ like Korea. Putin has the ability to call Kim Jong-un to recruit 1 million troops, Barbarossa 2.0. Yeah, and they've involved other troops. You're right. They've involved non-Russian troops, troops from other countries fighting on behalf of Russia. So, who knows what they can do in terms of, rearming. But you're right. I think there has to be a DMZ. I don't see how there wouldn't be a buffer area. Personally, on a moral level, you agree with Ukraine, just don't want your tax dollars to go to a random war overseas. Yeah, I mean, the argument is, well, it's weakening an adversary, but... I mean, some of that is also trying to pressure Putin into a deal. I mean, if you stop funding Ukraine, it's going to be a lot harder to get Putin to negotiate anything. There's no real reason for him to. But I mean, now the funding is pretty much over. We're selling weapons to Europe, not funding them directly like Biden was. They were just giving them older weapons, but nonetheless. Beyond humiliating for Trump, Putin has proved that NATO and America can't boss around Russia anymore. Well, I mean, there's no way to tell, the outcome of this press conference. I mean, or whatever it is, meeting. We can't really tell what it is. There's no details to it. I don't know how it's a humiliation for Trump. Let's slow the roll on that, maybe. Yeah, I thought the Michigan stuff was really bad. I mean, well, I can understand it, but to a degree, it's just modern college football. I mean, if this happened 10 years ago, I think they would have some significant penalties. I think that'd have significant penalties. But nowadays, it's like, I mean, think about all the cheating with NIL, and none of those teams get punished. So the rules have kind of just, they're kind of just off with college football. And the problem is there's no governance. There's zero leadership within college football. So I think you would imagine it would only get worse with this type of stuff being allowed. Jim Harbaugh is an innocent man. That's why you got a 10-year show clause, because all innocent men get 10-year show clauses. Russia won't give up the 4 Ukrainian. Yeah, the four oblasts. I know. No, I don't think they will. Well, they might give up parts of them. I did see that in another report that they would be interested in giving up parts of them during negotiations. How much do you think they talked about China? Well, Trump made it clear. I mean, China's going to come up because, you know, they're a major adversary and they buy a ton of Russian oil. But Trump made it clear he really wanted to focus on, you know, the inner war with Russia, Ukraine. So if it's only a 3-hour conversation, I'm not sure. Probably not much. Yeah, I don't know about Piers Morgan, man. I don't know what you know, did he say something? I mean, the thing is, people tell me to go to these things, and then it's like, they don't say anything. It's, you know, he's like a Ukraine supporter. Yeah, that's a good statement. It's a good statement by Piers. I don't see what the issue is. Oh, it's because of this. The knee pads. Then he posted this, which is from Fox News. Trump should offer to take Zelensky out of power, good faith to Putin. Yeah, but I mean, you want to get involved with that. What do we get in return for that? We will give Ukraine nuclear missiles. No, we won't. They did have a nuclear missiles. They gave them up. Did you see the dude wanting to kill Putin on X? Krasserstein? Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. It's kind of like rage bait. It's just like liberal slop. You know, you see this stuff, you just call it liberal slop. It's just like liberal slop, boomer rage bait. Like, all right, you're going to kill Putin, man. All right, yeah, that's great. Give Ukraine a deal they can't refuse. Well, we don't know what, I mean, you give them a deal, it's going to include, if it includes annexed territory, they're saying they're not going to accept it. But at some point, they're going to have to accept something. We can't get them that territory back, so what's really going to happen? We're not going to destroy our economy over it. Seahawks uniforms with neon. I don't know about the Seahawks uniform. They're, I'm more of a traditionalist, I guess. I think the uniforms have kind of gotten worse in the NFL. I think a lot of them have gotten worse. I like the uniforms in like the 2013, 2014 era. A lot of teams have changed their uniforms since then. Like, I don't know what's the obsession with changing your uniform every 5 years. Yeah, Ben Johnson, Ben, I hear what you're saying, man, and honestly, I do agree with you, but it's significantly better than someone like Kamala Harris. I mean, my goodness, like, come on. And I know that's a whataboutism comparison, but still, do you really think any progress was made on any? Well, there's going to be progress. They're forced to have a 3-hour meeting. There's going to be progress on something, but will it matter? Is the question. In the grand scheme of things, you agree on 5 or 6 different things, but if 3 or 4 things, or 1 or 2 things are a sticking point, and it's going to be a problem. And again, it's also the ingredient of the Western European countries who are very on Ukraine's side, and they're funding Ukraine, and Trump has kind of come back to them, and he's been more supportive of them after that NATO summit. Putin is leaving. Yeah, that was a quick. I think he might have gotten there yesterday, or I don't know. Vincent, I appreciate the $10. Thank you. Thoughts on Soul 6900 launch today? You can't trust any of that. Stay away from that. Yeah, stay away from that. And anything that just launched, I'd stay away from, bro. CNN calling Trump a failure sounds like Trump succeeded. Yeah, he failed because he didn't fucking tie his shoe the right way, and so it's a failure. I mean, they'll say it's a failure for anything. You're just numb to it. Why no comment? Because he just wanted to donate. There was a Black Sea ceasefire. Yeah, but those tend to be very precarious. You do like partial ceasefire. Remember, they had like a ceasefire on infrastructure, and then it lasted about a day. That Russia Ukraine did. They had a ceasefire on infrastructure and then one other thing. I don't know. And it lasted like 2 days ago. Then they blame each other. They blame each other for it ending. You shot a plant. No, you did. Highest donation. I mean, it's maybe 700. I mean, it would have been election night. Maybe maybe I did get 1,000. It was like 700 or 1,000, I think. Yinzer, thank you. No comment. No comment. Thank you for the donation. Was there any sort of talk? Did anything come of it? Sorry, was at work. Yeah, well, they had a 3-hour meeting. They had a 3-hour meeting. People thought it was going to be 6 or 7 hours. It was shorter. And then people were speculating, well, if the meeting doesn't go well, Trump is not going to do a press conference with Putin. But then Trump came out with Putin. It was a joint statement. Putin spoke for like 5 minutes. Trump spoke for like 3 minutes. They didn't take any questions. They said the meeting went well. They didn't elaborate. Very little detail. And that's it. And so we're going to have to get the information from reports now on what was discussed. And Trump said they agreed on certain things, but Thoughts on Putin's English? He can speak English, absolutely. I don't know. You know, it's an honor thing. He wanted to speak in Russian at that. It would have been nice to hear him in English, but KGB, you gotta speak a lot of languages, man. Yeah, I think he's pretty fluent. He could have definitely spoke English. It's an honor thing. You want to speak Russian. You don't want to, it's like a weakness. You speak English, and so it's a little bit. I can understand where he's coming from. Those are the odds on the betting market. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what that is. What even did you take you copy and pasted? I don't even know what this is. JD Vance 0.50, Marco Rubio 0.59, Donald Trump what is that for the president? I mean, come on, man. We're not talking about the president in 2028. Ceasefire is all this was for, not a peace deal. Putin has no interest in ending the war. Well, I don't think Putin has much of an interest in a ceasefire. Remember, Putin said he wasn't interested in a ceasefire without a concrete framework of a peace deal anyways. So I'm not sure how much he's interested in. And that really is a good point. I mean, if he's not interested in ending it, it's going to be very hard to end it. I mean, there would have to be even more pressure exuded. Don't care what happens across the world, just as long as it doesn't affect my money. I'm glad he didn't come out with huge sanctions. Right, that's the issue. It's the domestic impact. We want no domestic impact. I think what I would say is, if he does come out with sanctions, I think they're going to be very temporary. I don't see Trump and look, maybe the sanctions are thwarted because of these talks. He said they're very good talks. So maybe we can say, okay, we're not going to do the sanctions. But Trump did threaten major sanctions, and he put a clock of like 50 days and then cut it down to 10 days. And I think it was just to get a pressure, a actual conversation with Putin. And so maybe this is what that was. Summary, Trump will be on Hannity in 1 hour on Eastern time. He has a pre-recorded interview about the Putin summit. Pre-recorded? I don't think pre-recorded would help us. Like before the meeting happened or after the meeting? What's the point of meme coins? Most seem like rug pulls. Yeah. If you're new to meme coins, I would stay away. Most 100% are just you're gonna lose money. But if you're a little bit seasoned in it, you can involve yourself. One of the things I hate most about people talking about foreign policy is that a lot of people, for some reason, just instinctively call adversaries dumb and achieve nothing. Well, I think it's more so it's more so an evil thing. Like, you don't want to talk to Russia because they're evil. You don't want to meet Putin in person because he's evil. And how is anything going to be achieved with that? I don't really think I don't think there's a lot of people calling, the Chinese dumb. But I notice it with liberals. They say, other people are evil, so we don't want to talk to them. There's a new post. Vladimir Putin going up to his private jet. Trump is doing the interview currently. And man, Fox always does that, dude. They always get it. They always do those weird things. You know, but Trump wanted Fox to be there. Fox is basically babysitting the entire thing because he wants the propaganda controlled. Trump and Putin with a very warm goodbye. As there they both are. Yeah, I'm saying that a lot of people think there is this thing where you can't acknowledge intelligence of evil figures, which just doesn't get you anywhere. Oh, yeah, and a lot of that is historical figures for sure. They don't want you acknowledging it either. If you ever did interviews on this channel or got invited on to be interviewed by someone on their channel, which would you choose and who would it be with? I don't know, like a podcast maybe. I think a podcast would be good. But I feel like I have to get more notoriety to be able to get invited onto bigger podcasts. If the U.S. doesn't put significant military pressure on Putin in Ukraine, Putin is happy to do what he's been doing for years. Agree, disagree. Yeah, I don't see why he would stop it. There's not a real reason for him to stop until he gets what he wants. That's why there has to be pressure. I mean, unless the only wrinkle would be the European countries spending an exorbitant amount. I mean, they are spending more on military, but they would have to really ramp it up. Because can Europe, I mean, I don't think Europe by themselves without the United States support can really force Russia into a negotiation mode. I think you need the United States. To me, the biggest problem is the lack of nuance on subjects like the war. Russia has leverage, but Ukraine has valid concerns. Yeah, I know. That is very frustrating, right? Because it's like we got to fucking sit here and debate this, and obviously it's like both sides have an argument, but no, I hear what you're saying. Did you see the video of the B-2 bomber and F-22 Raptors flying over Putin and Trump? Putin jump scared. Well, I saw them all in a line on the tarmac. Thoughts on Russia and the U.S. sharing a maritime border? What, the Bering Strait area? I think it's irrelevant. It's a very cold area. There's not a lot of development, in that area, whether it's Alaska or Eastern Russia. I mean, Alaska is not connected to the lower 48 anyways. What are they going to... You can't even invade Alaska. It's too big of a state. Wouldn't make sense. We would notice the military buildup anyways. It'd be a waste of time for them. You have to see the flyover clip. Well, let me see if I can find it here. Yep, there they both are. Impeccable timing. The stealth bomber is just such a unique design. Like, it doesn't look like it should be flying. It looks like an evil creature, like in a children's book. The flying napkin. Yeah, that's what 1 trillion buys you in defense spending. Human technology advanced so quickly. Yeah, well, it infinitely advances every year. It's gonna get faster. It accelerates faster every year. Is what I meant to say. So they get into looks the Beast, one of the versions of the Beast. This actually ends well. Does this actually help his approval? You feel like the Iran stuff did too much damage? The approval is like, I think the approval's fine. What is the approval? 45% in terms of the composite? Yeah, I don't think it's a big problem. I mean, if you compare him to what Bush was in his second term and W. Bush as well, or Obama, I think the approval is not too bad right now. It's like, what does the approval go up by, a point or two? Maybe it'll go up a little bit. I mean, there'll be more momentum for it to go up if this gets solved. But I mean, even like that comment by Hillary Clinton, obviously, if we do have a peace agreement that's mediated by Trump, there will be territory going to Russia. So wouldn't she just switch her position and say, oh, he just cucked for Russia, he just gave in to Russia's demand? So wouldn't all the liberals just say that? So there's really no winning with them. Take out the Pew poll, it's high 40s. I really don't think it's that bad. Like when you compare everything, like his approval is, he has people a lot more galvanized, like a core base more galvanized than his first term by far. Like his base approval, his floor approval is so much higher than it was in, I mean, unless something crazy happens, so much higher than it was in his first term. Approval is absolutely meaningless unless it's too high, too low, or too high, right? And even stuff like this, it changes it by like 1% or 2%, even if they do something really good. But it's a propaganda tool if it's good enough. That's basically it. Knowing as hell getting ads in the middle of a live. Well, that's good. That's good they're working. That's good they're working. They weren't working for a while, apparently. Honestly, I probably could remove the ads during live streams. It's not like I make like not much at all. Maybe I should just you want me to remove ads during the live streams? It wouldn't affect me at all, I don't think. Yeah, I should honestly do that. It'd affect me like $10 or $20 or whatever, so unless I had like a massive viewed live stream, which it hasn't been happening. You always figured that the Iran stuff dropped his approval into the 30s? No. If you get money from it, don't remove it. Yeah, but I really don't, unless a crazy thing happens that would cause me to get a significant uptick in viewership. If you get like 30 or 40,000 viewers total on a live stream, yeah, I'm not removing it.
completely transparent with our viewers. We were prepared for the possibility of a minimalist outcome. We were also prepared for the possibility of a maximalist outcome. We have maps of Russia and Ukraine such that if we were going to be talking tonight, we'd have Ali Velshi at the big board walking us through which territories were where and why they were of critical need and want to both. We had full screens about what membership to NATO means to Ukraine. There was so much that could have been discussed tonight, including Donald Trump saying if he is not willing, he being Putin, willing to agree to a ceasefire, then there are going to be consequences. We had lists of tariffs and secondary tariffs pulled up, the possibility of sanctions. It is not clear that any of that was discussed. It is possible we were more prepared for this meeting than he was.
Oh, you probably take that to the bank.
Completely
just dumbass liberal slop. I mean, so they didn't talk in public. They didn't talk at the press conference. They had a 3-hour conversation behind closed doors, bitch. Like just liberal boomer slop. MSNBC boomer slop. Mountain Dew Baja. I never had Baja Blast. Isn't Baja Blast just Mountain Dew? I don't know, man. That's like 300 milligrams of caffeine. That's like a fucking energy drink worth of caffeine, Mountain Dew. You know they have that. You guys know. Some of you got to know the story because it was a big story. The girl that I don't know if she died or something happened because of the amount of caffeine in some drink at Panera Bread. Dudes, there was a drink at Panera Bread. It's got like 400 milligrams of caffeine. How is that even possible? Well, maybe coffees have that much. No, coffees have like 100 or 200. Would you do an IRL stream like at Ohio State football? I wouldn't do I don't think I'd do a stream at Ohio State. I would do an IRL stream just in general, though. Dude, I just call like any of this stuff, just call it liberal slop. They can't, it's just, what are they can't really say anything. It's just like, lady, you're not the woman, you're not going to be told everything, honey. I know you're not used to getting told no. You're not going to get all the information tonight. Like, they're outraged because they kept a lot of the stuff behind closed doors, I guess. Followed mainstream coverage today. The propaganda was unbearable. Really? I'm so detached from the mainstream coverage, man. But I mean, I think it is valuable to see what the mainstream narrative is. But I just don't really. I haven't looked at it much recently. Mountain Dew is 50 milligrams, 12 fluid. Yeah, but 12, what's a can? What's a can total? In a can, it's a lot more than that. A lot more than 12 fluid ounces. I used to get iced coffee when I was younger. I don't drink coffee anymore. The girl had a heart condition and drank a charged lemonade. Yeah, how is a lemonade got 400? I think that is pretty insane. That's an aggressive amount of caffeine in a lemonade. I mean, I hear, but even for like Panera Bread, you wouldn't think that. Valuable to Moderna and Pfizer for us to watch mainstream liberal slop. Well, yeah, I mean, Trump didn't say anything, so he's evil. That's literally what they say. He didn't say anything, so he doesn't know anything. Okay. That's real intelligent. We had all these maps prepared, and I was gonna recite the ABCs in Russian, and I had all this preparation, and they only talked. That's what happens in life, bitch. Sometimes you prepare for stuff, it doesn't go your way. Stop whining to people. But, you know, they probably like that. Yeah, no, the sugar is crazy in Mountain Dew. I agree. That's why I never really. I used to drink the Code Red. The Code Red is good when I was younger. I drank the Code Red, but I never was a big Mountain Dew person. Parents will be punished. Man, how out of control is child crime in New Jersey? Parents are going to be punished. You gotta do something. Your parents are boomers and watch Fox News all day. It's just what they do. Yeah, I mean, I do wonder, like, over 65, what do you think is the viewership percentage? It's gotta be in the 70s or 80s. Like 80% over 60 of their viewership is over 65. The protests. Yeah, the protests are all they're all old people. You prefer Mr. Pibb? Yeah, Mr. Pibb's actually pretty good. I agree with you. But Dr. Pepper was my favorite childhood pop. Dr. Thunder, that's the I think the Walmart variant. I don't think I've ever had that. Breaking 911, I mean, is it breaking 911? No, I mean, it's breaking 911.
We had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant. But
I can barely hear this.
Let's go back to Jake in Anchorage. Jake?
I'm fine. Just give me my show back.
Show's back.
Dude. They were putting makeup on Jake Tapper, and they were like, let's get your mascara. And he's like, I'm fine.
I'm fine. Just give me my show back.
Show's back.
All right, here we go. So let's go now to Senator Schiff.
Oh, I thought it was they were going to stay.
Senator Schiff is joining me. Ready to go.
Oh, it's Senator Schiff.
Democratic Senator from California.
They were like, we just want to finish applying your mascara. He's like, it's fine. You know, they all get makeup done. You go on live TV, they put makeup on you. I mean, look at Sean Hannity, dude. Sean Hannity glistens. Sean Hannity has like glitter on. And then Brett Baer with like the redness that gets added. The redness to the cheeks. I mean, you like streaming or making videos more? I think it depends. Depends. Sometimes I like streaming more. Sometimes I like making the videos more. Maybe it depends on the topic. So there's one very significant point that they're not getting an agreement on. What do you think that could be? A demilitarization of Ukraine. Trump has the most, though. Yeah, Trump well, Trump becomes a different shade. Trump transforms. But when you get to 80, I mean, but he's been doing it for a while. That's his thing. We're going to go to Adam Schiff. We're now joined by the great Adam Schiff. What is with all the reporter media guys wearing shitloads of makeup? That's the protocol. You go on Fox News on their set. I wonder if they tell you, you know, they have the remote appearances. They tell people to put makeup on. But you go to their set, they have their own stylist for the people. So they're like, okay, now let me see which, let me, I don't even know what it's called. Some fucking thing. You put the brush on. The brush. You apply the brush. Old vlogs are funny. You should make more. I think it's cringy, the old stuff. But, I mean, you know, getting into the algorithm with that is very challenging. I might try and do something, but I'm about to upload a video soon, but on the Titanic. Try and get a decent Titanic video out. How was the Trump-Putin summit? Well, it was, not a lot of information was shared. Let's just say that. Not a lot of information. Really not a press conference. There was no press questions. Replay the clip.
Let's go back to Jake in Anchorage. Jake?
I'm fine. Just give me my show back.
They should have just left it on. They should have just...
Show's back.
All right, here we go.
Show is back. He's like, show is back. Remember Anderson Cooper with the town hall with Kamala Harris? I remember that. Dark Cooper. Dark Anderson. When he was questioning Kamala Harris. What did he say? Who? Jake Tapper? He was like, I'm fine. I don't need any more makeup. Why can't Russia just redraw? You mean, you say redraw. It's withdraw. Withdraw troops from Ukrainian territory. Why would they do that? They've sacrificed a lot to get these gains. They're not going to withdraw their troops. Anderson Cooper with E.G. and Carol was yeah. Yeah, she was a real victim of Trump, and then she jokes about she tries to hit on Anderson Cooper. The dude's, everybody knows he's gay. She's like, you're a sexy guy. Why not evil side just give up so gay, right? You post that on Reddit, you'll start farming upvotes. People are obsessed with upvotes on Reddit. Karma is what it is. That's what it's called. Any positives from this? I think it depends. It depends, but when we get here, I'll see if there's any updates on this. When we get stuff that comes out of it, we'll see what it is. Dude, that's like, how do you you just can't take this kid seriously. Anytime a 14-year-old talking politics, I don't know how people, it's like, bro, kid's gonna be like a lib in a year anyways, because that's what I mean, when you're that young. Yeah, they've been saying this about Alex Jones forever, and nothing ever gets shut down. What's with crypto? I don't know, man. Dude, why do they even why do they have it the exact same as it's the exact same logo type as SPX? Yeah, this coin, this will not end well. Yeah, I am confirming this will not end well for people who invest into this. Oh man. At least we got six red flags. "33-year-old here wasted many years on Reddit. The content on there is deadly for your soul." Yeah, I mean, but Reddit it's I mean, you could waste years on any platform. TikTok is another one people waste. Reddit, it had a little bit more. I mean, it's always been very liberal, but I feel like it was a little bit more open back in the day, like maybe before Trump got elected. But even then, I mean, they were banning Republican subreddits. So you can be sued into homelessness. It's a ridiculous. They were trying to make an example out of him. No, there's no way it's anywhere close to justifiable to sue someone for 1.4 billion. Like, what kind of a precedent does suing someone for saying words for 1.4 billion dollars? It's fucking insane. It's like, it's just clownery. Can't stand Reddit, only go on it occasionally. Yeah, I mean, I go on it occasionally, but it's certainly not my number one. I mean, I don't see any political stuff on there anyways. I mean, there are some communities that's like, it like has a purpose that, certain communities, but the grand majority, like anything political, is going to be bad. Progressives for Israel, the other day they were even progressives. Man, what in the fuck? Progressives for Israel, man. Dude, they got a subreddit for everything. Funny how meme coins follow ETH when it's down, but doesn't follow ETH when it's pumping. I know it feels like that. It's frustrating, but the money flow is undefeated. It'll flow. And the point is, it's a very bullish time, so at any point you could have a coin do very well because there's enough money into and it's just, when it's more bullish, it's a lot easier to get the major pumps. Alex Jones Sandy Hook bullshit was blown out of proportion. He said a few untrue things about it, yet he also said a lot of untrue things about it. Yeah, I know, but I feel like it was like an example they were trying to put. I mean, how do you get sued for $1 billion for saying stuff? I mean, it was more so, it's like a warning. Surprising seeing how many in the DC subreddit were in support of Trump cracking down on crime. Then the post started being taken down. Yeah, no, that's what always happens for sure. The mods will take it down. It's a common story on Reddit. So the meeting, more history lessons with Putin. Putin was kind of going into a spiel there. I mean, I could barely hear the damn thing. I was trying to find one that would, because they were like, the first one I went to, it was so quiet. That was the White House. That was from the White House. I had my volume turned up fully. I had everything, my speakers turned up fully. I could barely hear it. And then I went to another one, and then they have the fucking translator talking over Putin, but you could still hear Putin. So it was kind of hard to hear it. And then she kept messing up words. But yeah, it seemed like Putin was giving like a lesson a little bit about the history of the situation. Putin was the first world leader to call Bush after 9/11. Yeah, thank you for that. You can do anything when you have an activist judge, man. Have you seen some of these judges, man? They really look out for their own. That's for sure. It's a hellscape. This modern liberalism, with how just with the way race relations work, modern liberalism is fucked beyond because there's no race realism. It's fucked. And these are some of these people are, there's liberals that are smart and they have higher IQs, but then you just think about it and it's like, you are not, if you're not honest on this very important thing, your politics are never going to work. They're never going to work. What happened with yesterday's stream? Were you sick yesterday? I think I did stream yesterday. I streamed for like 30 minutes, but yeah, I wasn't feeling too well. Reddit actually has some nice subs outside of politics, but there's lots of subs that aren't even supposed to be about politics but are dominate. Yeah, like the RPEX and stuff. Well, those are the major ones. Any of the major ones is going to get dominated by liberal politics. What do you think about the Roblox situation? Do you think that Roblox is cooked? Personally think it'll end up justification for the same censorship the UK is suffering with. Yeah, I know. That is concerning. I did hear about that and child endangerment and what kids are being exposed to. And Roblox, you would think, is for kids. So, you've got older people infiltrating Roblox in those communities. And I mean, that's a big problem. But you are right. That could usher in heavier censorship. It's a big issue. So, but I mean, I think with the company, I mean, once you have that stain, I mean, that's hard to remove. It's very hard to remove because it's a public perception thing. Now, once you have that and the parents start hearing about it, and they might not even look at the update on what actually happens to the entire thing, but they just hear about the bad stuff that goes on there, and they tell their kids you're forbidden to go on this, and it hurt them. Groyper coin. Yeah, that was you see that? Well, they launched it. They were trying to raise money, they said, for Fuentes, but Fuentes denounced it. There's actually a Groyper coin on Ethereum. I think that would be the only one that's like, I mean, there's no official coins, but that would be the one that is the oldest, the Ethereum one. But I'm not invested into it. You have to agree on concrete reality before debating someone. Like, is this tree a tree? Wonder how many times liberals would fail that test. Yeah, I mean, the date, I mean, I think a lot of it depends on where you're at. Like, if you're in New York City, dude, I see these girls and, put out these videos. They're just so pretentious. It's just such an arrogance to them. It's sad to see. It really is. But the relations between men and women, young men and women, it's not in a good spot. And some of that is the internet. You see the bad stuff more. So that's going to be some of it. But you only see the soul one? Really? Well, I mean, I can show you it right now. It's this one. 1 year, 2 months old. Any of the Solana ones, this is the newer Solana one. But this is the main one, I would say. But I mean, this is pumped, dude. I don't know. I wouldn't invest into that. Could the US and Russia realistically form a strategic alliance without triggering massive backlash from NATO? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how an alliance would really work with Russia. The problem is the left hates Russia to the point to where They got this. They got it of Putin. They got Putin. Really? Dude, this coin's about to dump over a 13-second clip. How does it go to 2 million? How does this coin go to 2 million, but we couldn't even get Epstein files to 1 million? This is a 13-second clip. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest concern with us forming an alliance with Russia, what happens when a liberal takes power? How can Russia trust that that alliance will stay in place? Solana is the casino. Yeah, that's why I don't really invest into Solana coins. I really don't.
Said at the end of his written remarks, and he also said in a scale of 1 to 10, I give today a 10. So that's the president grading what he thought of the meeting. News conference, this, by all of our standards, isn't a news conference.
That's excellent news, and exactly what we needed to hear from the president, because obviously there's a reason why he allowed things to happen the way that they did. He allowed Putin to address the world here and take the stage, even if there were no questions asked by the press. There was a reason for that. We didn't get a lot of explanation in the moment as to why that happened, so I'm happy to hear that the president feels good about the progress that was made today. He did say that he needs to call Zelensky and call up NATO allies and give them sort of a readout of what happened. But also we should note that some of the agenda didn't go today the way that it was expected to. We know that the president was going to have a one-on-one with Putin. It turned into a 3-on-3 that included Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Steve Witkoff. And then on the Russian side, Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, and also...
Well, I mean, he said it went really well. We'll have to see. Didn't the Republicans always fear Russia? I mean, maybe when they were the Soviet Union, and think that their ways were bad, and now conservatives are fine with Russia and everything that Putin does. When did the switch happen? Well, politics are nuanced in general. That's why history can be hard to follow during certain times. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about the during the Soviet Union and post-Soviet era, but also it's, you know, there's a traditionalism about Russia that's not seen in a lot of the Western European countries that are extremely liberal. So that's why there's a lot less support from Republicans with a lot of these European countries. They've gone extremely to the left, more so than they were. And Russia is seen more as traditional. What happened to the Golden Dome? They're doing the Golden Dome. They got the funding for it. So it depends what happens. Soviet Union was very different than, yeah, I mean, it's possible to compare the regime when you go through the fall of a, you know, communist state like that. Yeah, but also propaganda was a lot easier back under Reagan. You don't have, you know, access to information. So one narrative kind of takes over, and I mean, obviously at that point, during the Cold War, the Soviets were the enemy forever, and that's why Reagan is so revered. Left started hating on Russia after they passed anti-gay propaganda law in 2013 prior to Sochi Olympics. Well, they were ahead of the curve with that stuff. They did that. Please be live for Hannity. What is the Hannity thing? What's that, 9? Yeah, Hannity goes live at 9 o'clock. So, but the thing is I'll probably just get clips from it, because I know Fox News is kind of Streaming that is a little bit testy on Fox News. An event like a press conference that everyone's streaming is different, but I'll get clips from it. We're in the age of hyperinformation. Yeah, absolutely. Just look at all the AI agents and language model, and I've had an interesting thing with ChatGPT. It's taking a lot longer to respond to my questions. Like, it'll have to think it through and then answer me. You're getting married soon. It would mean a lot if you could send me your blessing. That's a troll. But I mean, I don't know the situation with you. But you know. Miss Fox News Tucker version. Yeah, I mean, it was better for Tucker overall to get him out of there. Definitely better for his career, I feel like. You're just a mainstream mouthpiece. You're on Fox with a main anchor role. Yeah, you get the blessing, man. You get the blessing. Father DG. This is great. You wonder if Trump's team uses ChatGPT. They probably use an upgraded, probably some upgraded version that the government gets. Something that we're not privy to. They get an advanced model. 100% they use it. They would be very dumb not to. Favorite chatbot AI? The Grok girl. Isn't the guy Valentine? What's the girl? Ultra Grok? Isn't it Super Grok? That's a meme coin, Super Grok. And it's like you pay for a $200 thing or whatever it is. $200 subscription, Super Grok. Yeah, that probably you pay for that. You need to do coding and shit like that. More advanced stuff. You're about to expand your channel to politics. Hope one day we can do a live stream. Huh. Yeah, man, that's, maybe at some point. I mean, I wish you good luck. It's a hard trudge to expand. Changing niches is a very challenge. It'll humble you. Thoughts on Nick Shirley's content? I mean, I've got no problem with it. I think it's fine. I haven't seen many of his videos recently. I know he's like an independent reporter is what I would say. He goes to places, asks people questions about stuff. Please stay alive until the 2028 election. Dude, I saw Nick Shirley getting like harassed by a black dude. I forgot what their arguments are so fucking dumb. I forgot what he was saying, but it was like, dude, like the statistics I know on how the United States was actually built would fucking blow your mind. Like, just so much lies about the history of the U.S. Not even just demographics, just purely how we were built, and just so much they attribute to like minorities building the United States when no, that's not what happened. But they have to, because that's their justification for mass immigration. So it's like, well, they built your country, you need to let them in. No, they didn't. Absolutely not. Who do you think you would school in a one-on-one debate, Hassan Piker or Destiny? Well, I think Hassan would be easier to debate. Thoughts on DeepSeek? I don't use DeepSeek. They've really struggled with their new model. They can't. They don't have this. I guess the chips because of the Trump tariffs for whatever reason or so. Yeah, the Trump tariffs on Nvidia chips. They're struggling to be able to come out with their next model. DeepSeek. That's the Chinese AI that liberals blew a load because they said it was so good and it cost nothing, and they can't even fucking come out with their R2 version of it. Remember when liberals sucked DeepSeek off in January? Watching Ice Cube's War of the Worlds might be better than Joker 2 and My Son Hunter. I doubt it's better than Joker 2. I know people hate Joker 2, and they shouldn't have made it a musical, but I don't think it was the worst movie ever, Joker 2. I mean, it shouldn't have been a musical, and it was, but, you know, I think people, when there's like a trend to jump on a movie that just released, and a lot of people jump on it and say, they just join the crowd. It's like Alien Covenant, remember that? Everyone said Alien Covenant. I mean, there were some dumb parts of Alien Covenant, but it was a good Alien movie. Come on. Yeah, there's some dumb parts. There's dumb parts of every movie like that. They have to facilitate the plot by making the characters dumb. I mean, I wish that they wouldn't do it sometimes, but at some point what happened 250 years ago is irrelevant to today. You can't hold the past making an excuse as to why you can move to America. What do you mean, like with slavery and stuff? They use that as an excuse. I mean, there's a lot of slavery that happened. Comparing our, the slavery that happened in North America to Brazil and other countries, it was a lot less than what happened there. But yeah, obviously slavery is terrible, and we advance past it. You like DeepSeek? It's not woke and super funny, really? I mean, I'm sure it's deep. I'm not saying it's bad, but Tim Dillon said Joker 2 was bad, and he was literally in the movie. Well, I mean, you kind of have to. If you're a comedian and you're in a bad movie and everyone thinks it's terrible, you're not going to say it's good. Opinion on DC anti-homeless? Well, I mean, listen, the only way to fix it is a massive change from what they're doing. You can't coddle these people. It doesn't work. So they've tried coddling them for years, and I think what Trump is doing is very unique. This is the only way to do it in these major cities. I mean, are they going to elect someone that's more tough on crime? It's unlikely. And if they do, it's going to be a liberal and like a watered down version of it. So the only way you can really get enforcement, like law and order enforcement into these cities, is by using executive authority. And then they say, well, Trump is overstepping. It's like there's really no other way to do it. We don't want the big cities to be crime zones. So you have to use these, because the cities are not going to vote for a conservative leadership to be able to enforce law and order. So when you think about it, what Trump's doing is very unique, and I think people don't really, like, this is a kind of a big thing what Trump is doing. Now, I don't know if, how long can you really do it for? How long can you have the National Guard there? I mean, hopefully it'll clean it up and people will realize. I know there are some liberals who say, yeah, it's a good thing what he's doing. The crime is, they were trying to say it's down, but I mean, I know there were a lot of local people that said the crime was very bad, and what Trump was doing is a good thing, even though they're liberal. They admit. And you're just not going to get any of that enforcement through liberal mayors. There's going to be no law and order enforcement in these major cities. But you can't solve the homeless problem by coddling. They try to do that in California. It just gets worse and worse. It's a snowball. So there has to be a very strict, stern change, a forced change, when you get when you get a big homeless problem. Because at a certain point, it'll blow up to the point to where it's unmanageable. You have waited 20 minutes to speak, so please acknowledge me. Yeah, the 20-minute subscription, you subscribe to me. I'm thankful for you subscribing. Thank you. Yeah, I should probably turn that down. That was when it was like, you know, you get a lot of trolls and stuff, but honestly, I don't even think it matters that much. Mental gymnastics, homeless versus unhoused, houseless. What the liberal terms? They're just watered down terms of homeless people. I mean, it's the same thing. Apparently, someone sent Gavin Newsom a Trump 2028 hat in the mail, and he was super pissed about it in a press conference. What did he say? Trump was going to run or something? That was a joke, I think. There are parts of any major city you wouldn't go. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, there's no updates. So the Hannity thing is happening at 9 o'clock. Django Unchained, is it a comedy movie? One of your friends said it was classified as that. Yeah, I think, well, it's a like a nuanced comedy. Like it could maybe be classified as comedy, but it's kind of a different version of it. It's more of a storytelling, like. East Cleveland is one of them for sure, 100%. Yeah, East Cleveland's in real bad shape. Why is the media portraying the meeting as a loss for Trump? You mean, do they really expect the details? Did they really expect the details this soon, even without the calls fish? Well, I mean, I thought there would be more details, but I mean, I don't know how you could classify it as a loss. What it is, you know, these people, they have to say stuff that draws an audience, right? The meeting was a bit, or the press conference was a bit of a, there wasn't much that came out. You could say it's a little bit, it lacked details, a little bit lackluster. But they have to fill the time, and so they say, well, Trump didn't know anything, Trump bad, okay. Like, I mean, the reality is there wasn't much there. They had a 3-hour conversation. We'll learn more when we learn more. They said there was positive developments. I'm not saying that means it's solved. You know, you look at my take. My take is just extremely balanced, and it's all these other people. It's like, this is all just slop. You see all this stuff. The translator was the worst. Well, she kept mispronouncing stuff. That's the problem. And then they would have Putin and her talk at the same time. But I mean, it was like 10 minutes total. It was like 15 minutes maybe. What would happen if the Supreme Court rules that Trump could run for a third term? Very unlikely, but it's an interesting scenario. Yeah, well, then they would start saying Obama should run. I don't think Obama has the sway that he used to, but that's what they would say. I mean, you could say, well, if it's non-consecutive, that would rule out Obama. Like if you serve 2 terms non-consecutive, then you can run for a third. But yeah, Trump, the age just kills him. The age is gonna be a big problem. He needs to talk to Zelensky and EU before details released. Yeah. Well, I mean, they could release stuff on maybe some agreements that they had, because they said they agreed on like 80% of the stuff. Think betting markets 100% need a review board over title and rules of betting markets. A, Ukraine recognizes Russian sovereignty over... U.S. recognizes Russian sovereignty over Ukraine. Includes small territories as well. Well, I do think it's subjective, and I know how they rule on those things, and you're talking about poly market and sites like that. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, some of the subjective rulings, I'm sure people are angry about, but I mean, that would cost a bunch of money for those sites to develop some type of board to review bets like that. They would rather not pay that. You live 10 minutes from a town with the most reparations program in the U.S. It's a woke hellscape. Yeah, well, a lot of that just gets spent on, like, cosmetic stuff from Amazon anyways. It would look bad if reporters would know more about meeting before Zelensky. That's why presser got canceled. Yeah, well, I mean, you would think they would at least be able to say something about it. I mean, but Zelensky has to know generally what the U.S. and Russia agree on. I mean, what's the next step? It's Trump talking to Europe and Russia, or Europe and Ukraine. Trump has to talk to Europe, Ukraine, and that's really what's going to decide on if it moves forward, I think. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this live stream. I'm going to end it there. I did do around 2 hours tonight. A little 2-hour live stream. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Trump says with Hannity. I'm not sure it's going to be a ton of anything, but we'll see. You're gonna sleep? It's already 6 a.m. What in 6 a.m. That's like that's like in Russian time. All right, I'll see ya.